Employees of escape rooms, what is the most incorrect thing someone has attempted to do to escape? Part of the game was bar themed. Multiple people moved the entire bar. We had to put up a do not move furniture sign to go with our do not touch electrical outlet and do not break things signs. Edit. I should also add that all of these safety instructions were in the intro I gave before the game. Didn't stop many intrepid explorers. Friend of mine works at an escape room. He told me one about a room where the solution at the end is to figure out a 4-digit code to unlock a padlock that has a key on the hasp. Said padlock is also locked to a desk. One group picked up the beefy 100+ pound desk and carried it across to the room and then inserted the key into the lock and rotated the whole desk to unlock. Not the correct solution, but it did work without breaking anything. That time at least. Not an employee, but I went to one a few months ago. We were really stuck in this one room, and they had explicitly told us we were going into a more difficult room, and that we needed to be extremely attentive. I found a floorboard that looked loose and it actually was. I pulled it out relatively easily, and underneath looked like a large compartment of some sort. I pulled a couple more up. Admittedly, they got harder and harder, until there was a massive hole in the room and no clue. Eventually we hear a voice over the speaker, quite aggressively but probably more annoyed than anything, saying back quote, "There is nothing under the floorboards. I think I messed up their floor." In one that I did, my group got paired up with some random people. One of those people was an off-duty cop. One of the puzzles involved a pair of handcuffs, and you had to find the key. Unknown to the rest of the group, he just pulled out his handcuff keys and opened them up, skipping like half of the room. I did something like this, no tools though. It was a really old school combination padlock. Tension on the shackle, find the most resistant disc, and turn until it loses its resistance, repeat until it opens. 3 people had spent 15+ minutes on it trying to solve it normally, but they got pulled away and had basically given up, so I gave it a shot. I've picked normal locks before that I own, out of curiosity, but that was the first time trying a combination. The actual method changes a lot, but the basic principle is very similar to picking pin and tumbler locks. Solved the escape room and the other hidden puzzle that played in this room. It started automatically if you solved the main one in under a certain amount of time. We actually had to escape by opening a window, climbing out and walking back inside the building, which was kind of cool. The catch, there had been builders doing renovations on the building, and they had painted the window shut. So the guy walks in, after watching us fail to open it for 10 minutes, saying stuff like, "Oh, you can solve the hard version of the room, but can't open a window." He then tries to open it, and thinking about him strain for a solid 2 minutes to open this window after taking the piss still makes me laugh. Went into one with a teenage boy. It was a zombie room, where if you're touched by the zombie you can't work on the puzzles anymore. It's on a chain that gets longer as time passes. Before we went in, the host informed us that we'd have 15 minutes until the zombie emerged from its hiding spot, so we could get in some stress-free puzzling. They told us everything in the room was fair game, except for a giant box with giant X's marked on it. If we opened that box, we'd lose our 15 zombie-free minutes. Despite the warning, Aaron still went right up to the box as soon as we entered and opened it. He legitimately wasn't trolling. Kids are stupid. I led a group for a covert ops mission, and one of the challenges was to infiltrate this cabin and get a USB drive that had nuclear launch codes on it. During the briefing, we were instructed that across the front door was a laser tripwire, and it would sound alarms. We get to the cabin and I send 2 up to the cabin. 1 to input the door code that we had obtained earlier, and 1 to go inside. The kid goes to the door, and instead of just punching in the 4-digit code, he waves his hand through the laser and shouts, "Hey, this don't hurt at all." Alarms go off, and guards come running and capture the 2 on the porch. The guards ask who they're with, and they then rat out the rest of the group. We are with them, and points to some bushes we're hiding under. They got us. Y'all can come on out. Hell no, we took off running. Part of the games was to get back to base camp with as many as you could. Was an employee in Paris. Picking lock was a classic thing, also using props that are not meant to be used. But honestly, what always infuriated me the most was when kids went there with their parents. Kids are pretty freaking smart and ironically are pretty good at respecting the rules as long it's in the role play of the room. But what always makes me angry is seeing those kids being really smart and creative, finding all the right clues for their parents to diss them and never taking any clues the kid gave seriously. In the debrief at the end I always comment parents on actually listening to their kids and not steal the fun from them. I'm not an employee, but for my birthday a few years back myself, my fiance, my sister and my best friend did 10 escape rooms in one weekend. While most went smoothly there were a few oddball incidents. My favorite of the bunch being, we were in a kidnap scenario room, where we were all handcuffed standing to a bench in the middle of the room, and had to search for a key to unlock ourselves. In the dark. After 3 minutes of groping helplessly and blindly around the room, my friend, who is extremely tall, kicked behind him, and flicked the light switch on. Still couldn't find the key. At this point the timer is showing we've wasted about 5 minutes, and knowing every second counts, we all start looking at the bench itself. It looks cheap, kind of lightweight, and we are all pretty strong people. So we coordinated lifting the bench around the room between the 4 of us, and managed to solve the first 4 puzzles, in handcuffs, just by adjusting the bench, and passing items across it to one another. We felt stupid when we finally found the, obviously placed, key, but damn we felt like badasses for not letting it stand in our way. The employee said he was extremely impressed, and didn't want to intervene, because he was surprised at our ingenuity. That was a fun weekend. I've been working at an escape room for almost 3 years now. We have a western/gold rush themed room, and there is a broomstick in the room, which is used in one of the puzzles. On the broom it says can, which hints that it's used in connection with some pictures of can dancers on the wall. There was once this group of about 5 women, each of them maybe 25 to 32 years old. They seemed a bit stuck, so I sent them a hint to read the broomstick and see if it related to anything in the room, in which they somehow thought it meant that they all had to link arms together and do the can dance in the middle of the room for about 2 minutes straight, in hoping it would do something or some door would unlock. At which point the only reason they stopped was because I sent them another hint saying that their dancing was not going to do anything. Fun times Lumfeo. Ooh, I'm an escape room employee. One of our rooms is saloon themed and has a bunch of plastic alcohol bottles in it that are filled with varying levels of colored water. The bottles are glued shut, and every group is explicitly told that the bottles have really old, like over a year old, water in them, and they do not need to be opened. A guy pried one open and drank the water. Yes, he threw up. Luckily he made it to the washroom first. My group was in one where we had to find a handle and use the handle as a lever to pump fluid out of a reservoir in order to complete a puzzle. The handle just happened to be roughly the same diameter as the sink drain that did not have a filter trap in it. My teammate gets it in his head that we need to use this item that is clearly a handle to something to plug the freaking sink. We spent a full 10 minutes fishing it out. The employee watching us said he'd never seen anyone do that before. Employee for about a year here. Had a guy literally pull out a knife and cut through the freaking wall. I'm talking combat knife from his boot. Cut through the wall. Yes. He had to pay for damaging the room. People get crazy when put under a lot of stress and they know other people have completed the thing that they're working so hard to complete. Part of the crazy makes sense. Been working in an escape room since April. In Germany we are not allowed go actually lock the rooms for fire safety, so in most of the rooms the door is simply open, and in some we have magnetic doors. In the ones where the rooms are open we do give them a story and mission on their way that they have to complete instead of escaping. A lot of people don't listen to you at all, and we had some that were sent in and then just came out again and thought they won. In the rooms with magnetic doors we are required to keep emergency buttons that turn off the magnet. We show an example button at the introduction and explain that it is not part of the game. You can imagine how many people escaped by pressing this. We also had a teenage girl thinking that she has to take the example button with her into the room and carry it around for the case of an emergency, like it's a remote control. I also had a guy who reached into a Technic access hole, which is labeled as technical and not part of the game, in a wall, and turned off a power strip for some reason which turned off a lot of the room. I do also love people that find a suitcase that is secured by a number combination and sit with it in the corner for 60 minutes trying to unlock it, while the rest of the team is having fun and eventually take it off of him.